Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Chapter 4 Culture and Socialization. And our topic is Culture and Identity. Identities are not inherited but fashioned both by the individual and the group through their relationship with others. For the individual, the social roles that he or she plays imparts identity. Every person in modern society plays multiple roles. For instance, within the family, he or she may be a parent or a child. But for each of the specific roles, there are particular responsibilities and powers. It is not sufficient to enact roles, they also have to be recognized and acknowledged. This can often be done through the recognition of the particular language that is used among role players. Students in schools have their own way of referring to their teachers, other students' class performances. By creating this language, which also serves as a code, they create their own world of meanings and significances. Similarly, women are also known to create their own language and through it their own private space beyond the control of men, especially when they congregate at the pond to bathe in rural areas or across washing lines on rooftops in urban areas. In a culture, there can be many subcultures like that of the elite and working class youth. Subcultures are marked by style, taste, and association. Particularly, subcultures are identifiable by their speech, dress code, preference for particular kind of music, or manner in which they interact with their group members. Subcultural groups can also function as cohesive units which impart an identity to all group members. Within such groups, there can be leaders and followers, but group members are bound by the purpose of group and work together to achieve their objectives. For instance, young members of a neighborhood can form a club to engage themselves in sports and other constructive activities. Such activities create a positive image of the members in the locality, and this gives the members not only a positive self image but also inspires them to perform better in their activities. The orientation of their identity as a group undergoes a transformation. The group is able to differentiate itself from other groups and thereby create its own identity through the acceptance and recognition of the neighborhood. Now let us move to the next point, anthropocentrism. It is only when cultures come into contact with one another that the question of ethnocentrism arises. And ethnocentrism is the application of one's own cultural values in evaluating the behavior and belief of people from other cultures. This means that the cultural values projected as the standard or norms are considered superior to that of the beliefs and values of the other cultures. We have seen in chapter 1 and chapter 3, particularly in the discussion on religion, how sociology is an empirical and not a normative discipline. Underlying ethnocentric comparisons is a sense of cultural superiority clearly demonstrated in colonial situations. Thomas Babington Macaulay's famous minute on education to the East India Company in India exemplifies ethnocentrism when he says, "We must at present do our best to form a class who may be interpreters between us and the millions whom we govern, a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in taste, in opinions, morals, and intellect." Ethnocentrism is the opposite of the cosmopoliticism, which values other cultures for their difference. A cosmopolitan outlook does not seek to evaluate the values and beliefs of other people according to one's own. It celebrates and accommodates different cultural propensities within its fold and promotes cultural exchange and borrowings to enrich one's own culture. The English language has emerged as a leading vehicle of international communication through its constant inclusion of foreign words into its vocabulary. Again, the popularity of Hindi film music can be attributed to its borrowings from Western pop music, as well as from different traditions of Indian folk and semi-classical forms like Bhangra and Ghazal. A modern society is appreciative of cultural difference and does not close its doors to cultural influences from abroad. But such influences are always incorporated in a distinctive way, which can combine with elements of indigenous culture. The English language, despite its foreign inclusions, does not become a separate language, nor does Hindi film music lose its character through borrowings. The absorption of diverse styles, forms, sounds, and artifacts provides an identity to a cosmopolitan culture. In a global world where modern means of communications are shrinking distances between the cultures, a cosmopolitan outlook allows diverse influences to enrich one's own culture. Now, the next topic is cultural change. Cultural change is the way in which the society change their patterns of culture. The impetus for change can be internal or external. In regard to internal causes, for instance, new methods of farming or agriculture can boost agricultural production, which can transform the nature of food consumption and quality of life of an agrarian community. On the other hand, external intervention in the form of conquest or colonization can also affect deep-seated changes in the cultural practices and behavior of a society. Cultural change can occur through changes in our natural environment, contact with other cultures, or processes of adaptation. Changes in the natural environment or ecology can drastically alter the way of life of a people. When forest dwelling communities are deprived of access to the forest and its produce, either because of legal restrictions or due to its decimation, it can have disastrous effect on the dwellers and their way of life. Tribal communities in northeast India as well as in middle India have been the worst affected by the loss of forest resources. Along with evolutionary change, there can also be revolutionary change. When a culture is transformed rapidly and its values and meaning systems undergo a radical change, then revolutionary change takes place. Revolutionary change can be initiated through political intervention, technological innovation, or ecological transformation. The French Revolution 1789 transformed French society by destroying the state system of ranking, abolishing the monarchy, and inculcating the values of liberty, equality, and fraternity among its citizens. When a different understanding comes to prevail, culture change occurs. Recent years have seen an amazing expansion of the media, both electronic and print. Do you think the media has brought about an evolutionary or revolutionary change? We are familiar with the various dimensions of culture now. To return to the point we started within chapter 1 about the interplay between the individual and society, we now move on to the concept of socialization in our next session. Now let us wind up the session, and thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning Podcast.